Hi friends, it's Brittany at Ink and Papyrus and welcome back to my channel. Instead of starting today's video inside like we normally do, we are starting today's video outside where some of nature's prettiest craft supplies can be found. Today is all about leaves. We are going to be doing a lot of projects that involve leaf printing. Luckily, I happen to have a ton of leaves in my backyard, but I guarantee you if you just take a walk outside, not far from your house, you'll find a ton of different types and shapes and styles of leaves. Okay, so first I would like to show you what you can expect from today's video. We are going to be using, I believe I wrote down 9 different techniques to use in order to get these really pretty leaf prints down onto paper. So let me just show you a couple of examples. I love these. Beautiful. This is a spectacular print. I love this. This ended up being one of my absolute favorites. So this will be one of the different techniques that I explain. Okay, it's like a 3-step process. It is not in any way difficult. This didn't turn out quite like I wanted to. We'll talk a little bit more about why I think that is. This is one of the techniques. And these go, this is the same technique as this. We're going to be working on a couple of different things to hopefully improve the resist printing that I did here. Let me show you some other examples. This is just a little strawberry I made. I hand painted after stamping the leaves. Here's some other prints I did. I love this. Woo! There is a lot going on there. This is beautiful. I can't wait to put this. This print will look perfect in a fall journal. I absolutely cannot wait. Oh, I love this technique. We'll talk about this in just a little bit. This is, I think, one of the easiest prints that you'll do. Even easier than stamping, if you can believe that. This is a little bit more subtle. I don't know if you can see the leaves in here. I can definitely see the leaf patterns from here. I don't know how well they're showing up on camera. Same here. This is really stunning. Beautiful. I love this one. Beautiful. All right, so let's get working on option number 1. Look at this well-loved craft mat. Okay, actually before we get to transfer leaf technique number 1, I want to show you a couple of supplies that I have gathered. You will want some acrylic paint, some watercolor paint, some paintbrushes, and then these are the different kinds of paper I'll be using. You don't have to have all of these. In order to do all of the techniques that I showed you, or that I will be showing you, I have some thin copy paper. I have some heavier cardstock. I would recommend for some of these heavier cardstock / water paper works the best. And then some dark paper. This is not fancy at all. This is just construction paper. This will work fine. It doesn't have to be black, but I would recommend grabbing a darker paper. Okay, so let's get to it. For the first technique, we are simply going to be stamping leaves onto paper. And there are just a couple of things you need to know in order to really stamp a good print. So, and this goes for all of the techniques I'm going to show you. The first important thing, of course, are the leaves. Any leaves that you find out walking around should do. There are a couple of things that I think make some of these leaves superior to others. A good quote-unquote skeleton, stink skeleton, is important. Do you see how veiny, how nice and veiny this leaf is? This will give you, and the raggedy edges here, this will definitely give you a good print. Whereas this, I don't know, the veins aren't as distinct. When I print with this leaf, I actually am more inclined to use the back because there's definitely more definition. You get more veins than you would the other ones, or that you would from this side, I think. The other thing you may want is a brayer. When you pick your leaves, now these are a day old. If these were to dry out, I can tell you they would be much harder to stamp with. And in fact, when I tried to do it with older, drier leaves, they actually broke. So I would recommend, if you aren't going to use your leaves right away, and you should use them within a couple of days of picking them or collecting them, what I would recommend, putting them in a bag seems to have held moisture, and you can also put a damp paper towel in the bag and kind of close the bag up to help preserve the moisture of the leaves. So just quick tip. Okay, so first things first, let's do some fun stamping. All right, so I have a couple of leaves here. I have a little bit of paint out, and this is so easy. I am going to show you how easy and how fun this is. And you can use these to make journal cards. You can stamp onto larger paper for signature pages. Anything works. All right, so I'm just gonna get a paintbrush. Okay. So you can tell I've been printing with these. You can reuse the same leaves several times. So I am going to, I think, use the back for this one. And we're just going to paint the leaf. You can put on as many colors as you would like. And you will, once you do this enough, you will get a feel for how much paint you should have on the leaf. More paint definitely is not better. If your leaf is completely saturated, you're not going to get a good transfer, which is why just pouring paint on the leaf and dipping it down into something and then stamping it is not the way to go. And in fact, a lot of times after I put paint on the leaf, I will I'll not just smooth the paint out, but sometimes I'll clean my brush and try and get a little bit of that paint off. Okay, now you can stamp this by pressing it down with your finger, but I find the brayer just gives it a nice, crisp, clean print. And you want to be gentle with it, right? Because these leaves are a little bit fragile. But oftentimes I'll go like this, and you might get a little bit of paint that oozes out and that gets on your paper, but I don't mind. All right, so that's actually a pretty good print. Obviously I over applied some of the paint out in the periphery. You can use, sometimes I'll reuse the leaf once, I think, or yeah, so like to stamp twice. Once you stamp twice, I think the paint's kind of done for. See? And there, and do you see when we had less paint on our leaf, we actually picked up more detail. Okay, nice. I do think when you kind of stamp off the edges of the page a little bit, it looks really nice. And I'm gonna show you, just like any other prints, there are definitely things you can do to doll it up if you're not absolutely thrilled with the print, or if you just want to add, you know, some more detail. So I'm just painting, I don't know if you can see, I'm painting the leaf. I want to do a couple more stamped prints on here, and I want to make them more than one color. So this is really enjoyable. And these prints are so easy to make. Okay. This is a very chill project. I feel like maybe I did something like this as a kid. Just to show you it doesn't require, it's not rocket science. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of that purple in there. This is why you should have a mat down. Things are gonna get dirty real quick. All right. Oh, beautiful. Okay, see how easy that was? We got some good prints there. I could come in with a watercolor and go around this and outline these. I could do any number of things, and we'll talk about that technique in a little bit. But I just wanted to show you the basics of leaf stamping. I think we can do it. All right. So again, get a couple pieces of copy paper. All right, and we'll just be ready to go this time with the paint. Let's do some blue. Ooh, don't do that. Blue. And let's get some orange in there. And red. So we're gonna do dark first. Oh yeah, I like that. All right, got it. All right, now I'm gonna pick some other leaves. Let's do that one, and let's try this one, and this one, and this one. Let it hang off the page a little bit, and we'll do that one. Okay, now let's smush these all down. This one is a little bit ornery. It's not behaving for me. All right, smush, 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 smush. Okay, now we're gonna take our brayer. Just gonna get some good paint on there. I'm doing a little paint mixing here. That's okay. We got some pink and some blues. And we're not going to be nearly as heavy-handed with the paint as we were the first time. And I think that'll definitely make for a better print, especially on our top here. Oh yeah, oh, I'm loving that. Oh yeah. All right, much smoother. Let's see what we got underneath here. All right, no rippage. That went pretty smooth. Oh, much better. All right. Now we may, I don't feel like I smushed these down well enough. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay. And then this one was just ornery, not behaving. All right, we definitely got some okay leaf prints. You can see this leaf right here looked really nice. What I did, I think if I can find the print, there was one print where I had done this and I didn't get necessarily the results that I wanted. And so the leaves that did show up were really subtle. I'm gonna find the print. So what I did, so I have some subtle leaves in the background, and then I just went ahead and I stamped over it. This I think was, so I think I used this the same way. This was the bottom sheet. I had these subtle leaf prints and I went and got a big leaf and I just stamped with it over these more subtle prints. And I think I was a little bit happier with that. Same thing there. I think I came back in on this, on the bottom print and went over it with some more leaves. So if you're not happy with it, there are definitely things you can do to kind of touch it up. Here I stamped on these and just kind of went around with my paintbrush. So there are definitely other things you can do to kind of beef the print up if you're not thrilled. In general, I think I am really liking the top prints more with the brayer. Okay. I think you guys will really like this next one. For this one, we are going to do some stamping and then add in some watercolors. So here I am just going to paint the leaves like I did in the first example. Let's get some of that blue on there. And for this one, because I am using watercolor paints, we're going to use a thicker cardstock or a watercolor paper so it doesn't warp the cardstock. Okay, so let's stamp our watercolor leaf on. And again, if you want, you can use your brayer. Okay, ooh, that's beautiful. Okay, and now I'm going to come in with my watercolor paints and do kind of like a shaded ombre thing. I don't know what you would call it. You'll see in just a second. Okay. So let's start with a light blue. You want to just lightly, and we're going to get a little bit darker as we approach the edges of the leaf. And for these, I like to leave a little bit of white space around the edge of the leaf. We could do one more of those, or I have a few different, for the purposes of time, let's skip on to another technique. We may kind of revisit that a little bit, but let's move on to our next technique. Okay, so next up is this gorgeous print. I'm going to show you how I got this. Alright, in the interest of time, we're only going to fill a smaller section of black paper, but you'll totally see what we're up to here. So the darker paper is what makes the magic. So get yourself some darker paper and some lighter paint, and we're going to get to it. Why don't we do, oh, this is tough, acrylic paint, of course. Why don't we, oh man, so many choices. Let's do this. Let's go for this pale purple. I'm really loving that purple. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna use a little bit bigger of a leaf to fill the paper, and we're just gonna paint our leaf. You can use one color, you can use multiple colors. Just make sure you go a little bit lighter on the paint like we had talked about before. Try and get in all those grooves to get that nice skeleton print. And if after you cover your leaf, you're not seeing a whole lot of detail, clean your brush and go back over it again. Almost like you would like wiping your brayer when you're doing jelly prints. If you can't see, if you're trying to do an image transfer and can't see part of the image underneath the layer of wet paint that you just put down, then go back over it. Just don't go over it too many times or too roughly, or else you'll tear your leaf. I still think that may be too thick of a coat, but we're gonna go with it. All right, so get your paint or your paper and then put your leaf down. Okay. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Regardless of what happens, it's still gonna look like a leaf print. And we're gonna be dolling these up. Oh, I really like that. Beautiful. Let's see if we can get another print out of this. If you take it too far and you only got a subtle print, it's okay. You can go over it again. Like I said, we're gonna be dolling them up. So if you don't get a full good leaf transfer, that's totally fine. We're gonna be filling in details. And don't be afraid. I think I'm going to add a different leaf in there to give it for a little bit more interest. This leaf's in a little bit better shape. The other one I feel like is kind of on its last leg. It's tired, what can I say? Okay. Oh, that's a good print. Okay, I'm gonna do this one more time over here because like that last transfer I tried to do, the first leaf wasn't very good. Oop. Hello. All right, let's put that down. Oh, didn't mean for it to go that way, but I guess if we're going that way. All right. Beautiful. Okay, now we have some really pretty prints. Okay, now ideally we would wait for this at least a couple of minutes to dry, but this is a video, so this is real life. We're moving along. Grab yourself some colored pens and we're just gonna fill in some detail, okay? They're probably going to need to be some darker pencils or else I fear they won't show up on the black. I don't know. Let's see what you can do. Screw it. I'm going bright and bold. Okay. All right. We can always change course. Okay. So don't worry about, oh, how did that happen? Okay. So don't worry about going around or outside of the leaf. We have different plans for coloring there. Right now I just want you to focus on making some details inside of the leaf. So right now I'm just going along kind of the natural lines of the leaf and doing some shading in here. Okay, and as long as your colored pencil is kind of showing up, that's good. That's fine. That should be plenty good. So now we've done some shading. We've just put a little detail in where our leaf prints maybe didn't completely transfer. I've just emphasized the little veins and stuff on the leaves. And now we are gonna get ourselves a sponge and we are going to do some sponge painting. Where's my sponge? Oh, here, okay. So get yourself, again, a good color you think would show up really well over the black. And I think I'm gonna go bold with this pink and this magenta. And I'm gonna put a couple colors on my sponge, but I think this is gonna show up well. And we just want a sponge, leaving some black areas. Be careful, you don't wanna cover the leaves, and you wanna leave a black outline around your leaves as best you can. And we're just gonna dab, 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 dab. This is not hard at all. Dab, dab, dab. And I'm telling you, when this is done, you're gonna love it. You don't have to be precise, just don't cover up the leaves. Oh wow, I am loving this. Can you see this, guys? Just blend this out a little bit, just like you would with a makeup sponge. But wow, I am loving this. Do you guys see this? Ah, gorgeous. Okay, the next technique involves a thinner copy paper, a leaf, and a white crayon or pastel. These are the ones, the prints I was showing you where I didn't get great results. I think it may have, I'm not sure if it's the pastel I'm using, if it's because it wasn't like a heavy duty enough of a leaf, but we're gonna be doing some resist prints, okay? So I may have to play around with this a little bit more to try and get the best results. And it is really cool. We're gonna, once we get a white print, we're gonna put some watercolor over it, but you theoretically could do just like the same thing with, you know, a colored pencil or whatever. But these are the resist prints that we're gonna be doing with the pastel or white crayon and watercolor. So that's why you want a thinner paper. If you don't use a thinner paper, then you're not gonna be able to get the print with the crayon. So we're just making a note of where the leaf is. You don't want to go across the entire paper, okay? Or else no watercolor is going to stick to the paper. So we only want to go over where we know the leaf to be. And if you have to kind of feel around, that's totally fine. Try not to move the leaf too much. I'm almost wondering if like some distress oxides would work a little bit better. So we have a leaf print on there. I'm not sure it's going to be great. Again, this is something that I've been trying to, I've done a couple of times now. Just haven't gotten the results that I want. So I'm gonna dab now we're just going to go over and around with the watercolor. And where the pastel is, the paint will not be. So that's where the quote-unquote resist comes in. Now I have a leaf print. It's not as dramatic as I would like it to be. So you can see where I put where there is pastel. It's not, the color is not sticking to that area of the paper, but it's not really like a defined print so much. So I wasn't loving these. It's very subtle. I can see the outline of the leaf. These are ones I'll probably go back in with some colored pencil and or a black charcoal pencil and dress this up more so that it's a lot more obvious that there's a leaf print there. So this was a little bit disappointing. Maybe I'm thinking it's maybe the oil pastel I'm using. I think maybe a white crayon would work better. I've tried with different leaves and a couple of different types of paper, and I'm still not really getting a great imprint with the watercolor. However, you know what I think would give us a good resist is leaves and black paper. So let's try this again. I think this will give us a fabulous print. So same concept, we're just going to put the leaf here. Decide whatever side you think is a little bit more detailed. I think for these, it's the back of the leaves. We're going to flatten the leaf out. We're going to smoosh it gently. Oh yeah. And again, a thinner paper is going to work better for you. And we just want to go over where we know there is leaf. Oh, nice. Wow, see how easy that was? Okay, now I'm going to show you a technique that involves watercolor. You're going to want to get yourself a thicker cardstock. Alright. And get yourself a leaf. I think the jagged edge leaves, if you have them, are a little bit more interesting, but really any leaf will work. Let me try this one. And what we're gonna do, you want some leaves that will sit flatter. It is imperative that your leaf is flat for this one. And get yourself some tape. I'm using translucent, like regular Scotch tape. Painter's tape definitely works better. And you want to get some paint out into the periphery so it sits completely flat. And you want to press down, but you don't want to press down so much that the leaf will not come back up off the paper, if that makes any sense. This process is kind of forgiving, so it's okay if it's not perfect. Okay. I'm also, some of these jagged edges aren't sitting flat. We're gonna hold them flat while we paint over them, so we'll make it work. We shall. And we're gonna start painting all around. Now you wanna paint over the leaf, but you also wanna make sure it's not too watery, that it'll leak under the leaf. And you don't want to paint directly under the leaf either, because then your imprint's going to be all skewed. Does that make sense? Like here, like instead of painting like this where my paintbrush gets under the leaf, you're just going to want to do that. Does that make sense? You want to use this more as a stencil. It's a leaf stencil. Some green in there. I don't know what I'm doing. We're just going for it. This is like a, I don't know, watermelon leaf painting. I don't know. Just going for it. All right. Now, make sure you got a good outline of those leaves. Okay, now we're gonna pick them up. Not bad. Get rid of that tape. Pick up that leaf. Save your leaves and just kind of remember the orientation they were in. Okay. So we have now a good outline of those leaves. You can get rid of that tape. Now I want you to take a look at your leaves and see which was the more detailed side, okay? I want you to take your acrylic paint and we're gonna paint the leaf and we're gonna stamp it right in that white space, okay? Back to that purple that I'm loving today. Now maybe for interest, I'm just gonna dab a little bit of pink, but try not to go overboard with the paint. All right, now we're gonna lay this down and transfer our print right where that white space is. All right, try not to let it move. And then pick it up. Ah, love, love, love. Okay, and then get our other leaf. I know which one it was because it still has pink watercolor all over it. Okay. Now we're just gonna paint it just like we did the other one. Oh, that side's the boring side. Never mind. We wanna go back in with the exciting side. With all the jaggedy, veiny details. All right, I can tell you that side it's a little too saturated with paint. Might have screwed the pooch on this one. Okay. Now, try and get it in that white space. I would go over this with my brayer, but this side has all this paint over it and this is still really wet, so if I run my brayer over it, I think it's just gonna transfer paint everywhere. So I'm just gonna do smoosh, smoosh, smoosh. Not too bad, not too bad, but you can see I told you it had too much paint on it, and you see it obviously looks like a leaf. We got some of that stuff, but the veins, we didn't pick up all those details. That is okay. I still absolutely love this print. And that was our stamping, leaving blank space, or painting with watercolor over 2 tape leaves, putting watercolor all around the leaf, taking the leaves up and then stamping them over top of the blank white space. Okay guys, so if you remember correctly, this was the base print for when we put a bunch of paint down on our paper, put our leaves down, put a sheet of copy paper over and went over it with the brayer. This was the base layer. It is now dry, and those leaf prints are actually more visible than I thought that they would be. Initially I thought I was going to stamp over this with a couple more leaves. We could do that. However, I'm actually pretty happy with how they are showing. So I think I'm just going to come in with my charcoal pencil and just show off what nature gave us here. Show off what's already there. And don't forget our other options for adding some color and some details. Paint, like I showed you earlier, with a fine tip brush, colored pencils, gelatos, maybe even some distress oxide. We didn't try that. I was thinking about trying that with the resist prints, like going over it with that white pastel, oil pastel, and then once we got the resist print, spritzing with some distress oxide. Why don't we do that? Let's do that. We have time for one more print, and we'll make this one quick. Okay, this I can tell you worked better for sure than the watercolor. Can you guys see? It's not as distinct as I would like it to be, but you could definitely see the print of the leaf there. So let's just quickly, aside from that, let's look at some of the other prints we made today. The one I just showed you that we finished off with the charcoal pencil. This has to be one of my favorites. This is the stamped leaf on black paper with the details added or emphasized with colored pencil, and then sponge painting around the leaves. Same here, this is the one we did together on camera. Just stamped leaves, colored pencil, details inside, and acrylic paint stamping around the leaves. Adore. Okay. This was, I think, again, like the others, the other one that we did, that we added some details to. This was the bottom sheet of the just painting your paper with acrylic paint with leaves over top, copy paper added on top, and then brayer over. And again, we have very subtle prints from this one. I think the prints become a little bit more visible when it's dried, but either way, I think I'll be accentuating this. See, can you see this lovely print here? We have a lovely print here, a lovely print here. So we still have some good prints out of this. This was one of the brayer images we did. This is the one I was a little too heavy-handed on the paint, but we did get some good prints here. Let me find the other brayered image that we did that was really, really good. I really like that. That was the other top brayered leaf print we did. Is this dry? Yeah, dry. Okay. This is the one that we did with, remember we taped down the leaves, watercolored over top the leaves, took the leaves off, acrylic painted the leaf and stamped it onto the white space. This was the watercolor just stamped leaf and then simply watercolored around the leaf. Same here. This was one of the first stampings that we did. I think it was the first stamping we did. Very, very simple, but this is still one of my absolute favorites. And you can do so many things with this to doll these up. I was even thinking, oh my gosh, how cute would like liquid pearls be on here? You can paint around them, color pencil, oil pastel, maybe add some details with gelatos. This is one of the stampings. Oh no, this was the resist we did with a leaf under it and a white oil pastel, and we added some details in with some acrylic paint. So yeah, we did quite a few prints together, and see how many prints we did together in, I don't know, this video is probably like 35 minutes. So you can mass make these really quickly. You could make a whole collection of signature journal pages just by using these techniques. Guys, I hope you had fun doing these. These are an absolute delight. And this is one of my favorite fall projects to do. If you know of any other ways, aside from the only other thing I was thinking of doing was maybe a jelly print image transfer with the leaves, which obviously we didn't get to today. But if you guys can think of any other leaf image transfer sort of projects or printing, please drop me a comment below. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this and found value in this, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I can't wait to see you the next time.